does? Oh, well, there we go. That was weird. I didn't even press my go live button. I don't know. Here we go. Let's do it. You were talking about it in video, right? That's because it was showing it in the thing and not on YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry. I was like, what do you mean? I was like, oh. No, start it now, slacker. All right. What's up, Kilo? What's up, Matthew? I didn't even pull up the thingy for everybody's chats as well. I'm so scrambled. Today I was streaming a lot of Doom Eternal, trying to beat the DLC to that because Doom the Dark Ages comes out tomorrow, and I'm very excited for everything. And not comic related at all. And so, but anyway, PSA, Dingus Den's on Twitch. I was streaming that. If you don't follow me on Twitch, go to twitch.tv/the Dingus Den, where I do a bunch of gaming stuff there. So that's kind of where my mind's been at, though, today. And I literally stopped streaming there like an hour ago after 5 hours of killing demons all crazily. And so, of it driving me mad because that DLC's a little tough. So anyway.
I was just at work.
You're just at work. But anyway, let's get into this, into why we're actually here today, to talk about some of our favorite non-Marvel or DC comics out there. And so,
are you going to play the intro?
Yes, we're doing the intro right now. Is exactly what we're going to do.
Welcome to the Dingus Den.
All right, let's go. Yes, welcome in Kilo, welcome in Matthew, welcome in Taco Cat, aka CEO of Star Wars Non-Toxic Alliance. Welcome in Aisha. How is it going? Welcome in. We also have Steve number 2, aka Steve Spun in the house. How is it going, everybody? Welcome into the Dingus Den, specifically the Comic Den, where we're going to talk about some comic-y goodness. And you know what? Just to begin, let's just talk about what sort of stuff we've read. I will begin by saying I have barely read anything, really, this last week, because this last week was insanely busy for me. And the free time I have had over the last few days, I've been spending it, honestly, leaning really hard into just gaming than reading, as what I was just talking about with the new Doom game coming out, that I'm very, very excited. Has the stream frozen? It looks good. Everything looks good to me. Good on my end. Yeah, I was about to say. But yeah. Okay, but anyway, what I was saying though is I've been very busy, so pretty much I can only think of 4 things I've read this week. And when I say 4 things, I mean like issues. And that is 3 of the free comic book day stuff, which is of let's see here. It was I read the Fantastic Four Giant Size X-Men. I read the what's the other big Marvel one that came out? Why am I not thinking of what it is? The other big Marvel one. What was the other big free Marvel one they did?
Ultimate Universe?
That's it. Ultimate Universe Spider-Man. I read that. I then read the DC All-In freebie, which included a little bit of Absolute Universe stuff in there, which is interesting. And then I read Wednesday night, I was on with Ro on Scare Podcast to talk about the Cassian and K2SO one-shot comic that came out, which was very topical this week for this week's Andor set of episodes. So we had a very good discussion concerning canon work being overridden there. So, but yeah, it was a really good good show that we had there. So be sure to go check that out, Scare Podcast. And yeah. What about you? Have you read much at all?
Okay, so I think it was last week we talked about the free comic book day stuff.
Yes.
And I might have mentioned that reading the Spider-Man book made me think about looking into the new run of Amazing Spider-Man.
Right.
If I remember correctly. So I did read issue 1 of the current Amazing Spider-Man run.
Did you like it?
Yeah, I did. I'm
Yeah,
probably
I thought it
gonna.
was good too.
I think at some point, if I get out of the money hole that I'm in, I may add that to my subscribe list. Other than that, I did read last week's poll, and another thing that I think I remember mentioning on this show. Remember me saying that I wanted to try to get caught up with X-Men stuff again?
Vaguely.
Okay. So last night I finished volume 1 of X-Men by Jed McKay,
There you go.
and I started while I was on my lunch break today. I started reading Uncanny X-Men by Gail Simone, the volume 1 of that. So I am working on getting caught back up with X-Men. Well, caught up, not really
Sure.
caught up.
As much as you can.
As much as I can with
Yeah.
not subscribing to them.
Right. No, I should do the same too, because I believe I was looking at it not too long ago when Marvel was having that raid on Grey Malkin event or whatever that that went back and forth, and they had everything on there. It may be on there now because it was probably 2-3 weeks ago when I was looking at this. They had everything except the main. It was considered as part of it as like the epilogue issue.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's that's on my list because that's like right where I stopped reading was when those started crossing over with each other. I'm like, okay, I'm done. So
yeah, and do you know how on Marvel Unlimited they have that option to like follow or add? I can't remember which one it is. It's something where you find an event.
yes,
And you can save it so
yes,
that you
yes.
go into a thing and so I saved the Onslaught saga because it's been a really long time since I read that.
Sure.
And so at some point I'm going to start rereading the Onslaught saga.
Heck yeah.
But that's quite a read.
Yes, that is.
That's
I remember that being I read it via the they had like a big series of trades of them or something like that.
Yeah.
And so I remember that being something I read a lot of early on when I, first got into reading that.
Yeah, I started reading it as single issues when it came out. So I think there's a chance that I didn't actually read all of it. Like when it came out in single issues, I might have just read like the main titles and not any of the tie-ins. So
Sure.
I think this thing on Marvel Unlimited is actually going to be all the tie-ins as well. So
Oh, cool. Awesome. Yeah, that'd be a good one to read sometime, but that seems like a big commitment because
it is a very
Onslaught.
big
It's Onslaught, so.
Yeah, it is.
So.
But that was that was an event in Marvel Comics that had some major repercussions.
That's true. I mean, we had a show talking about one of those repercussions 2 weeks ago.
Right.
With Thunderbolts, how the original
there
Thunderbolts
there was a lot of fallout from Onslaught.
Yeah.
So I don't think Marvel Comics would be the same had the Onslaught saga never happened.
It's one of those few events that like Marvel constantly does a bunch of events, but sometimes it's like, how much do these events actually matter?
Yeah, right.
See, like for instance, we just had Blood Hunt. Blood Hunt, I haven't read it, but from what I looked at, it looked cool. But like, how much did that really matter? You know? And so,
by the same token, like while it is one of my favorite comic book story arcs of all time, Age of Apocalypse didn't really have much of an impact on Marvel universe as a whole. onslaught, however, was major.
Yeah, that it
You know
really is.
what? That reminds me, we should do an episode about like top 5 events.
Some sort of events. Yeah, I mean, I could probably, yeah.
We might have
That'd
to
be a good
break
one.
it up between Marvel and DC, though.
Maybe. We'll figure it out. I mean, just talking about those events in general would be good as well, even
Yeah.
if it's just the main stuff that we focus on, because there's a bunch of rich things in between both of those, I think. Like, look at Secret Wars, for instance. So, but yeah.
Cool. But tonight we are not talking about Marvel or DC.
Yes. Well, before we get into all that, let's just quickly go over what stuff is on my poll this week, and
Okay.
go from there. Just to make this quick, we got Absolute Batman issue 8 coming out this week. Look at that.
Yeah.
Gotham and the Grasp with Mr. Freeze. Good to see the monster of Mr. Freeze there. We have Transformers issue 20 with Megatron stuff. This is going to be awesome. Getting deeper into the stuff with Megatron there. We have Wolverine, next issue of Wolverine, which I believe this is the beginning of a new arc. Yeah, this is the first of a new Wolverine arc, so that's going to be interesting.
Very cool.
I got next issue of Spawn. But 364, isn't that wild? 364 issues of Spawn.
Wow.
Oh, here's an issue that I might not get. I don't know. I want to check it out at some point. But Invincible Universe Battle Beast issue 1. That's a big issue coming out this week. Where for anybody that's watched Invincible season 3, you saw Battle Beast there. Where you see Battle Beast begin there in that show, there's a big in season 3 there's a big gap from the story from when you saw Battle Beast in season 1 of Invincible to that point where you see him in season 3. And so this is his telling his story between then. And I haven't read the main Invincible comics leading up to it, but part of the greatness of anybody can enjoy this comic is the show is so close to the comics, other than changing some things here and around. It's not going to matter, where you could easily just enjoy this comic just as much only if you've seen the show. Yeah. So anyway, though, point of that saying, though, is since I didn't read the comic all the way up to that point, because that's into the second compendium, and I only read the first one, when I saw him come back in the show, I was like, holy crap, it makes me want to read this comic now. And so I want to check it out. I just don't know if I will right away, because there's a lot. Because I also have Aquaman issue 5, where I have really been enjoying reading Aquaman. Not words I think I necessarily be saying, but here I am saying I really like Aquaman. Green Lantern Corps issue 4, where I have been really liking this new Green Lantern stuff. They've been killing it with the new Green Lantern. We got next issue of King Spawn. Oh, look, we got a new Supergirl series coming out too. So that's cool.
Yep.
Anything else here really quick? Oh, I think I have this one pulled as well. Godzilla vs. X-Men issue 1, or the one shot. So because I on a whim I got Godzilla vs. Fantastic Four, where me and Kat, shout out to Kat, where we're going to be recording a video over Godzilla vs. Fantastic Four soon. But then I ended up also picking up the Hulk one and the Spider-Man one. And at that point, I'm like, you know what? Just go ahead and pull all the Godzilla Marvel stuff for me.
There you
go. Anything else here? Oh, Spider-Verse vs. Venomverse begins. You'd think you'd see more of that, because I personally haven't seen much about that. Oh, that weird Gwenpool comic starts up as well. Yeah. I think that might be it.
So my pull list is kind of non-existent this week because there's some financial stuff going on. It's a mess. So I had to cancel all of my subscriptions. However, I do get paid on Friday. So depending on if I can get a little bit out of the hole, I might be able to afford what is on my, like, I still have the pull list on my League of Comic Geeks just to see
Sure.
what, if I were going to get anything, what they would be. So Absolute Batman number 8 is on there, of course.
Yeah.
The Green Lantern Corps number 4 is on there.
Yeah.
Batman and Robin number 21. Daredevil number 21. Oh, that's weird that they're both 21. Star Wars Jedi Knights number 3. And Supergirl number 1.
Excellent.
So if I can figure out a way to afford these comics, I will be buying them.
There we go.
So did you know that the creator that is writing the new Supergirl
Okay.
has also done some work on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
No, I did not know this,
Yeah.
as I didn't really look into the Supergirl. I know we talked about the Supergirl being a thing, but I didn't look into it that much.
She is most well known for her work on Jim and the Holograms.
I don't think I know what this is.
But yeah, she did some work on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Her name is Sophie Campbell.
See, that's definitely not a name I really know.
She's the writer and the artist.
Interesting.
So,
okay.
So that artwork that you see on that cover of Supergirl 1 is her work. Well, on the main one. There are some variant
covers
that are actually pretty fucking awesome. But
got the new Supergirl movie that it actually just recently wrapped filming, so coming out next year.
I heard about that and I was like, really? Didn't it just start?
It started back in January, February. Yeah, they were quick with it.
Yeah, they were. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. I mean, hey, I'm just hoping it's the case of they had a vision. They went right for that vision. You know what I mean?
And James Gunn has said that he based the story on Woman of Tomorrow.
Isn't it literally called Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow?
I think it is.
So, yeah.
So
that'll be cool. See, and that helps too, is when you're doing an adaptation, it's just like, okay, how do I make this into film?
Yeah, and it's supposed to be released next year.
Yeah. Yeah. It's going to be awesome because within the span of a year, we're getting Superman, we're getting Peacemaker, which is having some ties to Superman, where if you watch that trailer that just came out, that had some ties to Superman. And then we got then we have Supergirl.
So speaking of Supergirl, you don't have to show this, but I'm sending it to you on Discord just because I want to do it now while I'm thinking about it. But it's a picture of oh my gosh, what is the girl's name that's playing her?
Millie Alcock?
I had it on the tip of my tongue. It has a picture of her in the Supergirl outfit.
Is this a real thing? Well, I mean, I know we've seen some from her like far away.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if that's official, but I got that from an article.
That is definitely not.
No? Okay. Because I got it from an article on actually on Warner Brothers.
Okay.
That was the premise of the article was just that it's got an official release date. So
yeah, it has a release date. No. Because her symbol is going to be the same as the symbol that we see Superman in, I believe.
Okay.
Wow. Yeah. But yeah, all right.
Cool.
Excellent. Well, let's get into the main topic.
Talk about independent comics.
Woohoo! So our idea here was let's talk about pick 5, and then whereas like okay, let's each then pick a runner-up or honorable mention, and so let's begin with your honorable mention here.
Yeah, so my honorable mention could be my number 5, depending on the
You're
day you
close.
ask me. Um, Tank Girl it's a British comic book. The character Tank Girl first appeared in a magazine called Deadline, the first issue of Deadline that came out in 1988. She was created by Alan Martin and Jamie Hewlett, and it's a post-apocalyptic story
Okay.
that takes place primarily, and I say primarily because there might have been a time when they moved away from, but I don't think they did. Australia.
Okay.
So it takes place in Australia, and it's her. She's likes tanks, and she hangs out with some half kangaroo, uh, basically mutated kangaroos, and a bunch of other goofy characters like Jet Girl and Sub Girl, and it's
Sure.
a lot of fun. And they actually did a movie about it in 1995, and that movie kind of made the series more popular. Personally, I like the comic better than the movie. The movie was fine. I liked it.
Sure.
I saw it in theaters, and I liked it. Had a great soundtrack. I got it, man. That's probably the best thing about the movie. Really, was the soundtrack was awesome.
That's cool.
It had Ice-T in it. If you know who Ice-T is,
Okay.
he played one of the mutated kangaroos. But the main character, Tank Girl, was played by Lori Petty, and she did a fine job. She was fine. Another big name in that movie was Malcolm McDowell,
Okay.
and he played the main antagonist. But yeah, that's my honorable mention.
So my honorable mention, this was one that I wanted to originally put on my list just because of it being we were talking about creator-owned stuff, right? And I my top 5 is stuff that if you know comics or look into comics at all, you probably know some of this stuff. Actually, Matthew saw Tank Girl in theaters. And what is up, Marvel and DC Marshlands? Welcome on in. It is going good with us. Good to see you here. Welcome on in. We're actually just talking about some of our series that aren't necessarily Marvel or DC. But yeah, what I want to talk about is something that I actually met one of the creators for, and that's how I found out about it. And it's this little book that I thought was really cool called Red Morden. And what this is, and I have the book right beside me. It's a cool, nice little hardcover here that I picked up from him, and he has like one of those ribbon bookmarks in it, and it's a nice hardcover. And what's really cool about this is that half the story is your traditional, like comic, and it's beautiful art, and it's like it's a really awesome fantasy story. But then you get in halfway into it, and what it is it turns into like a novel with some pictures in the middle, and then it goes back to comic form, in the last third of it. And so anyway, it's this just nice little sort of, I guess you could say you can break it into 3 parts. The first comic, the novel bit, and the comic bit. It's really cool though. I really liked it, and I thought it was just something cool, different out there. Where I actually met Mark Kidwell, who's the writer for it. And so you can actually see the images of this here. Like, look at that art there. So if you're a fantasy fan, I think it's something that you'd really enjoy, and you can actually buy this online now. 128 plus pages, oversized. See, that's the problem because it's oversized. It's like I didn't know where to put it because I have it signed by him, actually, and I was like, well, I don't know where to put this because, yeah, here it is right here. See his autograph right inside the book right there. So, but this is like the only comic that I don't have with my other signed comics because it can't fit in the regular comic box where any other comic can that I have signed. So, but yeah, I just wanted to talk about that. Cool book there, I think.
Very cool.
All right, now let's get on to our top 5.
Our top
5 favorite non-Marvel, non-DC books here. Beginning with you, Steve.
My first is an Image Comics.
Yep, got it up here.
Comic called I Hate Fairyland, written and illustrated by Scotty Young. And it is about she starts out as a child. Her name is Gertrude. She starts out as a child and she is transported to a fantasy world called Fairyland. And she ends up stuck in this place for like 30 years and she hasn't aged.
Sure.
And it's very irreverent. It's very violent. She has a very filthy mouth for a young child. But it's almost like it's like a weird bastardized version of The Wizard of Oz. It's like, what if Dorothy was this foul-mouthed little brat who just was annoyed with everyone she met?
All right, you've sold me. Go on.
It is, it's amazing. It's a great book. It's been going on. Oh man, when did it start? It's working on its second series now.
That's crazy. So yeah,
it started in 2015.
Wow.
And it quit for a while, and then started up again.
That's awesome. I actually have the first 6 volumes of this digitally. I just haven't read any of it yet.
Where did you get them?
It was a PDF bundle deal that I got. So anyway, point is though, that's something that we could easily do an episode on later. So
hell yeah.
So
yeah. But, I think you're really gonna like Larry. Larry is her sidekick that she hates. He is a fly. Like the insect, the fly.
Yeah.
And she hates him. But she hates everybody.
All right. Well, he follows into the category of everybody. Fair enough.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure what Taco Cat's trying to say here. Saying, how do you feel, Diablo comic book guy? I do know there's a free comic book Diablo, which I did not get, although I was curious about it. But when I was only limited to 4, I was like, I'm sorry, you're not one of the 4 I'm most excited for. I have met somebody who worked on Diablo, who's also a known comic writer. Did you run? I feel like I've told you this. Do you know Ron Mars? He writes for Diablo 4 currently. So,
okay. Well, you know what? We didn't put Super Guy on either one of our lists.
What is wrong with us? I thought, should I put that up on our on my honorable mention?
Maybe
for anybody who didn't check out our episode covering Super Guy, check that out. He actually just sent out the official digital versions earlier this week, I think.
Yeah, he did.
And he actually just got some of the first printings, I think, fresh off the printer. And so, for anybody that backed any physical copies of it, should hopefully be coming out sooner than later. So, shout out to him for his first ever Kickstarter, having a pretty quick fulfillment where there's some big. I mean, I don't one thing that I never want to get into this show is certain online indie comic circles out there. I'm just going to leave that at that. He's doing a better job than a lot of those, though. So, but anyway. But yeah. All right. Let's go on here, though. I had this other cover that I wanted to share.
Yeah,
that's great. I was like, oh, that's funny. Because this is the one I pulled up originally, and then I realized, wait a moment, this is different. All right.
It's
mine.
Gertrude, yeah. She I think in the second series, I'm not caught up on the second series. But I think in the second series she's a little older.
Okay.
Like, because at the end of the first series, she actually does make it back to her world.
Interesting. All right. My number 5 is a series called Battle Chasers, where oh my gosh, who is the writer behind this series? I don't remember his name. Anyway, he's actually known for first being an artist. And he did some work at Marvel for a bit. They loved his work at Marvel. He came over and worked on Battle Chasers, which I think if you're a fan of D&D and those like fantasy kind of world, you would really enjoy this. It's another great fantasy story. Funny enough, I didn't think about the thematics of it, between last one I picked, but this one's a lighter sort of fantasy world, I'd say, compared to the last one is like much more darker with Red Warden. This one's a bit of a lighter fantasy world, I think. It's not like as much of a hard fantasy. It has some like fun stuff with it, where like one of the main characters, is you can see in the back right there, is like this big sort of like magic robot kind of thing, or magic golem, I guess, or whatever you want to call it. A big magic sort of animated armor dude. You get the vibe of what I'm saying there.
Yeah.
And so it's really interesting, though, because you see this person where she inherits this gauntlet from her father, where it's like, you shouldn't use this. And so she's trying to go figure out exactly what happened to her father. The main series went on for 9 issues before. I don't think it got canceled. I think just things happened with the creator where he got caught up with other stuff. And he actually went on to go make some video games. And so he actually is I believe the founder of a studio that made a series of games called Darksiders. I'd say is probably their most recognizable games that they made. Yeah. But after making some fame and money from there, he actually went on and made a sequel to this comic series called Battle Chasers Night War. And that, I think, finishes up the main story. And then a few years ago or something like that, he came back, and we actually got in issues 10, 11, and 12, which finishes off like another character's arc or something like that, I believe.
Okay.
And so I haven't read those issues yet. I actually did go ahead and buy those issues digitally right after I finished reading this. But Battle Chasers Night War is something I'm actually planning on playing through at some point. But when I initially read this for my first time about a couple months ago, I was like, holy crap, this is great. I really like this. And so, and I heard so many great things about it. And after reading it, and I'm like, I completely understand why. It's only 9 issues. Go give it a read. It's great.
Very nice.
All right. Now we're on to your number 4.
All right. What was my number 4?
Department
of Truth. Yes, another Image Comics book.
I think it's important to mention, anybody that isn't familiar with Image, the special thing about Image and why people love to work with Image is that when you put a book through Image, their whole purpose of their company, and it's still true to this day, is everything is owned by the creator through Image. Yeah. And, because when you work with something like Spider-Man, Batman, even though you don't own those stories, even with those characters.
Right.
Versus here, anything you publish through Image is yours at the end of the day.
And Image, as far as independent comics, is the big one that has really given the other two, the major two, a run for their money with stuff like Walking Dead, Invincible.
Yeah. Both honorable mentions. That's not on our list.
So
well,
many.
that one. We'll get to
So
that.
Department of Truth is it's ongoing. They're still printing
Yeah.
issues. I think they're up to, oh man, they're in their 20s at least. I think they might even be close to the 30s now. But it is written and created by James Tinian IV, who
Great writer.
Yeah, great writer. Probably most well known, possibly, for his run on Detective Comics.
Man, he's just written so much, or it's kind of hard, I feel like, to pinpoint exactly. I'd say that's up there, though, for sure.
Very prolific writer. So the Department of Truth centers on a guy named Cole Turner, who is a conspiracy theory nut. And he is approached by a shadow organization called the Department of Truth, and is convinced to join their organization. And it turns out that most of the conspiracy theories that he's been studying are true. So, and this organization called the Department of Truth is essentially there to keep the truth from coming out.
Sure.
So it's a conspiracy theory book. I like it mostly because the writing on it is just phenomenal. It's just
Sure.
James Tinian's just awesome, and this character, like the first two arcs, they're just amazing.
I have personally only read the first issue of this. Through something awesome that Image has been leaning into. Actually, I think mainly a little bit more as of recent, is something called Image First, where they reprint first issues, and you buy these first issues of these series for $1, which I think is fantastic. And this was one I bought whenever they did it, either early this year, late last year. And it was the first issue of this, and so I remember reading it, and I went, "Holy crap, this is just nuts!" And so it's definitely something I'd like to read more of sometime. And I remember thinking too, the art in this is really unique. It's bizarre. There's a lot of good things going on about this book where I think it's really worth the read, especially
the artwork is good, but it's really crazy artwork.
Yeah, it's unique, and it's something that I think very much fits the kind of story it is, and it's what helps the story stand out.
Yeah.
Like this cover very much fits the vibe of what you're gonna see inside. It's not one of those covers where it's very bright and shiny, and whatever you see inside is kind of generic. No. This very much fits the vibe of like what you're seeing kind of on this cover is kind of the vibe you're getting, pretty much the vibe of what you're getting in the book here. And it's pretty wild.
Yeah,
so I highly recommend.
Definitely not a bright and shiny comic book either.
No.
This is not, just a disclaimer, this is not a book you're going to read for a I don't know how to describe it. It's like, it's not really a fun story.
No.
It's very dark and depressing.
Yeah.
Very well written.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what's important, though, is you're talking about just being all about different conspiracy theories and really delving into it. That is really what it's all about. And so if you're somebody that finds those kinds of things intriguing, you'd really like this, I think.
Yeah, like one of the main characters in this book, other than the guy Cole Turner, who's the main character, one of the other main characters is actually Lee Harvey Oswald.
Oh,
that will make more sense as you read more into this book.
Okay,
like the actual Lee Harvey Oswald. It's very complicated. It's very complicated.
Very complicated.
This is not. I will warn you. This is not a quick. Just sit down and read, and you're good to go. You got to pay attention to what's going on.
Yeah. Oh man, that'd be a good one this is one I like to come back to sometime. Yeah. There's just a problem of there's so much to read, but this is definitely somewhere on my list of I want to go through and read more of this.
Yeah, definitely.
So, all right. For my number 4, and I know this was potentially on your list as well, is Geiger. Actually, specifically, I haven't read too much of the new Geiger stuff, but like that original 6 issues of Geiger was just fantastic.
Yeah, some of the best stuff that Image has done in the last 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, seeing Jeff Johns coming back to doing more superhero stuff, and it truly helps you remember this is why Jeff Johns was great when he was working at DC, and him taking this brand new superhero, or I don't know, well, anti-hero, I guess you could call him, better word to describe it. He's very cool though, of like, what if you kind of get like what's his name? He very much reminds me of like some of the, like a couple of different characters from DC. But like, anyway, like this character though, he's really intriguing. The
artwork's amazing too. It's
Gary Frank did an amazing job with the artwork. Absolutely, setting up a great visuals there. You know, the whole idea of like, I'm trying to think of the simplest way to describe this would be, think Fallout, but this guy becomes a superhero when being nuked.
Yeah.
And so
that's a good way to describe
it. There's some similarities where it's not exactly like the world of Fallout, because Fallout has a very unique world, right? Like there's a reason why Fallout stands out. But there is some places, like you remember, like the town there does kind of feel very Fallout-ish weird in some ways, you know? And so like definitely has some Fallout vibes, but you got this superhero character where he has a very like dark story as well. And as you learn more and more about what happened to him, and it's a big tragedy with his character as well, is really what this story is at the end of the day. And so like it's really a great story. I just remember reading that first issue and going, holy crap, I need more of this. And now they're just expanding on this even more. They have a current series going on right now, which I need to go back and check out more of. I only got the first issue of it, and then I stopped. I did check out a little bit of Redcoat, which is a prequel series to this, but I was like, it's fine. I might go back and read more of it, but I didn't like it as much as this. But this though is great. Oh, I need to read the Junkyard Joe series that came out as well. That was a tie-in. But the main 6 issues of this though, go read it. It's fantastic. Awesome character here, and it's so much worth the read. So, Geiger Volume 1. All right, your number 3. It's a big one.
My number 3 is kind of a more popular series.
That's fair.
Kind of hard to believe that this is an independent comic, but it is. It was put out by Dark Horse Comics. Written by Frank Miller, the Frank Miller.
Yeah.
And of course, we're referring to Sin City, which is it's like a noir type feel. Takes place in a city called Basin City, a fictional city. As far as I know, they are all in black and white.
Yeah, I've seen some of the art, and it's cool black and white art.
I don't think I've ever seen color on this, which is kind of, like outside of Marvel and DC, is actually kind of a Frank Miller thing.
Yeah.
Because he did that other Dark Horse comic called Ronin. Oh, right. That wasn't Dark Horse. No, that wasn't Dark Horse. That was DC.
I know what you're talking about, though, yeah.
But that was also primarily black and white. But yeah, Sin City is very, it draws very heavily on like pulp fiction, not the movie, the idea of pulp fiction, and detective crime type stuff. And this is it is not ongoing. It ran from 1991 to 2000, and it also had not one but 2 movies based on it. There was Sin City just Sin City in 2005, and then Sin City: A Dame to Kill For in 2014.
Excellent.
Both were co-directed by Frank Miller
That's
and
cool.
Robert Rodriguez.
That's awesome.
But yeah, it's if you've never read this,
Confession, I haven't read it. It's on my list. I just haven't, had the good opportunity.
It's probably worth a read. I mean, there's collected issues. There's a Hard Goodbye, which you have the picture of here. But you've also got A Dame to Kill For. You've got The Big Fat Kill. You've got one called That Yellow Bastard.
Sure. Yeah. I was just looking at these on Amazon to see how much they were, but yeah.
Yeah, those are the collected trade paperbacks. There's a couple more. I don't remember the names of them. One was like Booze and Broads and something. I don't remember. It was, but there's also a collection of hardcover that collects most of these trades. But yeah, it's my understanding that these are very well received books, and understandably, they're good reads.
I mean, yeah, I think there's how do I want to put this? Some things are big for a reason, I think there's a good reason, or not just a good reason. I think lots of good reasons why people put Batman as their number one hero. For instance, right? Like, it feels so generic to say, but then when you go to read some of those stories, it's like, how can anything be better than this?
Yeah,
and so. I completely understand what you're saying there. And that kind of very much goes that does very much go for my next pick as well, which is a huge story that, but yeah.
But again, I got to warn you, if you like color in your comic books, you're not going to get that here.
And no, this isn't a coloring book.
That red that you see on the cover, that's the only color you're getting.
Yeah, I mean, black and white can be done well as long as it's stylistically done well, like in The Crow. And so that was
the very early Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were all
the original black and white. Yeah,
original black and white.
Which me and Chris talk about on Shell Talk. We're going to be trying to record another one this week.
Talk about radioactive adolescent black belt hamsters?
Not yet. We'll let you know when we get to it.
Should get on that.
We are right now working through.
I see you in the chat, Chris. You need to get on this.
So right now we are working actually through the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which is black and white. We actually began with talking about The Last Ronin, but right now we're talking about the original ones. Are you familiar with how they put out these? I believe they're called the Ultimate Collections.
Vaguely, yeah.
So the first Ultimate Collection comes with first 7 issues and the Raphael micro series one-off that they did.
Mm-hmm.
And so we did a couple episodes breaking that one in half, and we're currently halfway through the Ultimate Collection 2, which is what featured their crossover with Cerebus. And so the first ever Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles crossover with Cerebus the Aardvark. Do you remember who Cerebus the Aardvark is?
I don't.
Talk about a so obscure character now where you can't find any of his stuff anywhere now to go read. That's how obscure we're talking about now, where he was more substantial in the 70s, and they did the crossover with him in the 80s there when TMNT was growing and going strong there. And that was issue 8 of TMNT, their first ever crossover, and it was Cerebus the Aardvark. So we talked about that along with the Michelangelo one-shot and the Donatello one-shot, which I absolutely love that Donatello one-shot. And so be sure to go check out our latest Shell Talk episode. And
I've read that first trade of Last Ronin, and it's really good.
Well, speaking of Last Ronin, that is my number 3 right here.
Oh, geez. That's a good segue then. I don't even remember what's on your list. To be fair, folks, I didn't remember what was on my list until before we went live. I was like, what did I put on my list?
It's so funny. We were just happened to talk about TMNT, and I was about to get to that, and then he brought up Last Ronin. So here we are. Last Ronin. This story is absolutely amazing.
So good.
We talked about this in our first episode of Shell Talk. So if you want all the deep details and talk about how great this issue is throughout the whole thing, yeah, you got the collection there of what I have up on screen there. Yeah, you have the nice hardcover. And that's really cheap on Amazon right now as well. I just saw it on my Amazon while looking up for SimCity.
I think I bought this. I'm pretty sure I bought this when I was living in Michigan, and I went into the comic book shop in Grand Rapids, which is called
something.
I was hoping my son-in-law would come in the room and tell me the name of that place. Vault at Midnight?
I don't know. But yeah, no, this story though is great though.
Vault of Midnight.
The Vault of Midnight.
Yeah, I was in Vault of Midnight, and I saw this, and for the life of me, I don't know what compelled me to grab it off the shelf. I just said, "Oh, interesting. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, The Last Ronin." I had to have opened up the book because I don't I used to read Ninja Turtles back in the day, back in the
Sure.
day. And so, but I'm not a huge reader of
Ninja Turtles, sure.
But I grabbed this off the shelf, and it is such a. I'll let you do the talking. This is your favorite, but it is so good.
Well, let's talk about this though. Of Last Ronin, it's a series set in the future, and it's very much people know the premise of Old Man Logan, where they then took it into Logan, right? Let's say this is the Logan of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And that's what this is, where you just have one turtle remaining, one turtle's alive, the others died. You do find out exactly how all that happened via flashbacks, where how the flashbacks and some of the bits in the story is done beautifully. As you can see here, there's multiple artists. There's 4 artists listed here. Well, technically 5, because Kevin Eastman did art for it as well. But he did all the main writing for it. I don't think Peter Laird was directly involved with this, even though his name's there. I think the main way, I could be wrong, but I believe the main way he's involved is because they had this idea a long time ago, so that's why he still got the credit. Along with that, he always gets a credit for Turtle stuff because he's one of the co-creators. But Kevin Eastman did the writing for it, and then all those artists underneath there, the work was essentially divvied up because these issues of Last Ronin, they're big issues. This is what a single issue of that looks like. You're talking about a big issue here. It's twice as big as your normal sized issue, and it's fantastic. But yeah, this is what I would say one of the best, if not the best, comic story that has come out within the last decade, because it is just amazing. It's one of those stories where I can't think of a single problem with it. It's amazing. It tells such a beautiful story. It touches you. It has a roller coaster of everything you want, of the action, awesome action moments that you want in a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle story. But then it also touches your heart in several ways too. Especially if you grew up with watching Turtles in any shape or form, regardless of the iteration of Turtles you watch. This story will touch you because it's holy crap, you're seeing one of your favorite turtles go out in some way, or you're seeing who may, if you don't already know who the lone turtle is, which they make such a tragic story for the one who they pick to be the last remaining turtle. It's such a great story that just touches you in so many different ways. And so it's an absolutely fantastic story. I really can't say enough good things about this. Of just it's an amazing story.
And it's not your number one.
It's not my number one, which is crazy because I'm well, this is such an amazing story. I would say I could actually put this story above my number 2. So I don't know why I put it here then, I guess, with how high I'm talking about it. It's just what came to mind third, I guess.
Okay.
So, but yeah, TMNT has been putting out good stuff now. I've been under the radar. The good thing with TMNT, though, is Jason Aaron's now writing for TMNT, which is interesting. So
that is very interesting.
yeah.
How far into that run are they?
7 or 8 issues. I do know it continues off of the current IDW. Like the IDW that's like 150, 160, however many issues that is. It is a continuation of that, but it is a jumping on point though. So yeah. Me and Chris will eventually get to the IDW stuff.
Yeah, I
so.
do like some Jason Aaron.
Yeah, he's a good writer. So, but yeah,
is his
I'll have to run and read it though. But,
is the first volume of his called Return to New York?
Possibly, I'd have to see the cover of it to fully confirm or deny. I will want to say that sounds right though.
Okay, it's in your Discord now.
Okay, let's look at it here. That's it. Yep.
Okay.
That is indeed
$20. Digitally, it's $20 on. Or wait a minute, I don't think that's digital. I think that's like the hard copy.
Yeah, I don't know about his things there. All right.
But
yeah, that's something I do want to read. I'm kind of wanting to have access to all those IDW Turtles stuff digitally. And so I'm wanting to, me and Chris are really wanting to crack down on trying to cover a piece of it. So we're going to try to get through more of the black and white classic Turtle stuff on Shell Talk before we get to those. But we have a lot to do. So we're going to try to, ideally, I would like to get done with the main Kevin Eastman era, like all those Ultimate collections by the end of the summer is going to be my goal for us to get through all the way through that and get into the IDW stuff come when I get back to, other commitments and whatnot, since I have more free time now to put out stuff.
So issue number 1 of that run is available for free on Comixology.
Oh, okay.
So that would be, I will yeah, I'll check that out.
Heck yeah.
Oh, you know what? Issue 2 is also for free. Issue 3 is not. Okay, so 1 and 2 are free on Comixology. That'll give me a good start. I do like Jason Aaron.
Absolutely.
I mean, he is writing the current Absolute Superman.
And I have really enjoyed that.
It's pretty awesome. Yeah.
It is. All right.
Man,
let's get into our top 2s. You ready for your number 2?
Yeah, speaking of stuff taking place in the future, another Image Comics creation by none other than Scott Snyder and
one
Tony
of my favorite
Daniel.
personal writers.
Yeah, Scott Snyder and Tony Daniel. It is Nocterra.
Such a good series.
And how to describe this one? It's kind of weird. It takes place in the future, and it's a different. I think I wrote a review of maybe the first issue or maybe the first trade. I don't on the Future of the Force. I wrote a review, and it's like it's a different take on a post-apocalyptic future, because most post-apocalyptic you're gonna read has something to do with some sort of nuclear holocaust.
Right. Yeah.
Generally speaking, most of your post-apocalyptic stuff is going to be that. This one's a little different. Has nothing to do with nuclear war. For some reason, and I don't think it really ever gets into why, or it does kind of toward the end.
It does.
It's very
touch a
vague.
bit on it.
It's very vague. They touch on it, but it's very vague. And basically, the world has gone dark.
Right.
And so the dark turns living creatures into these things called shades. And they're monsters. They're monsters. And the only way that you can survive through this post-apocalyptic future is to create artificial light and stay next to it.
Right.
So the main character is a girl named Val, and she is what is referred to as a ferryman, which is basically a truck driver that transports. She's a truck driver. She delivers crap,
Right. Right.
just like what a truck driver would do. But her job is a little more dangerous because she has to drive in the dark. So it's all about this world. Mainly focuses on Val, but toward the end starts focusing on some other characters.
That's yeah.
But really, I really can't recommend this enough. It is
Yeah.
just such a good book and such an interesting take on post-apocalyptic
Yeah.
just
Absolutely.
because it's just a different take on it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I 100% agree. It's a great story. Scott Snyder is one of my favorite writers in the business, and so seeing his unique take on some weird stuff like this, like it's very much up his alley. You didn't really, I didn't really hear you mention about the dark can like turn you into like monsters is like a big threat of that, right? And so seeing the big creatures and stuff that they fight against is it's cool. It's very unique and cool in many different ways, and it's such a great story. And I love this absolutely. I remember just reading each and every issue. I was like, holy crap! Not one of them let me down. I absolutely love the entire series, and I know what is it? There's 3 specials and then 18 issues, and right now it's kind of it's on a I don't want to call it a hiatus because they don't know if they'll for sure come back.
Right. I don't know if it's coming back.
So the deal with it is Scott Snyder said he'd do more, but part of what makes this special is the fantastic artwork done by Tony S. Daniel. The reason why they decided to put a pause on it when they did is because Tony had his own creator series that he wanted to put out there. So they put a pause on it so he can work on his own series. But they left the door open of, if we want to do more, we'll do more. But these 18 issues and the 2 or 3 specials that they put out, that's a very much a complete story. So if they never do Noctera again, you'll have a complete story there that is great and is absolutely worth the read.
Yeah, I feel like they ended it in a way that could be the end.
Yeah, and that's how that is.
Yeah.
What about Hellboy, Taco Cat? What are you trying to say about Hellboy? Hellboy's one of your favorites here, because I was just asking what's everyone's favorite non-Marvel / DC comics.
Okay.
Taco Cat's talking about Hellboy. You know, funny you say Hellboy, Taco Cat. Right when. Look at that. My number 2 is Hellboy. Specifically, I just have pulled up the first arc, Seed of Destruction, which is fantastic. But I really like this original bits of what I've read of Hellboy is fantastic, and he's one of those characters that I always look out for. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And this you get the classic Mike Mignola art and story in it, and there's nothing like that classic Hellboy, that classic art style. It's truly a great story, and so I love me some Hellboy, and it's so interesting because so many of these different comics that I really enjoy go into like some horror stuff that I've never really enjoyed live. Well, I'm not going to say never, because I've definitely opened up to it more as of recent, like years, I'd say. But Hellboy, though, is a series that I've loved for a long time, despite how much I haven't read of it. But what I have read of it, I really enjoyed. Do you remember that David Harbour Hellboy movie that, God forbid we
I
speak of?
haven't seen that one. I've seen the ones with Ron Perlman.
Those are great.
I haven't seen the David Harbour one. I want to, because the more I see of David Harbour, the more I like to see him do stuff.
I'll say it's certainly a movie. A good movie. I don't know about that, but
that bad, huh?
I didn't hate it when I first watched it, but it's definitely not well put together. Let's put it that way. It's definitely very messy.
David Harbour is
he's not the issue. Let's put it this way. He's not the issue.
Okay. Because everything I've seen him in,
right. I would actually say the best Hellboy movie that we have that depicts how Hellboy is in the comics is actually the newest one, which is a smaller one that came out a year or two ago called Hellboy the Crooked Man, which is actually based from another Hellboy series. It's a small independent movie. It was distributed or produced by Catch Up Entertainment. That's how
that was just last year.
Yeah, last year. Yeah. I just recently watched on Hulu a month or two ago, and I actually really liked it because so you can tell it's a cheap made movie, but they did what they could. Like, some of the effects weren't the best, but keep in mind, you're talking about a really small budget movie. Like, the budget of that movie is incredibly small. And what they could
actor that plays Hellboy, he does not really scream Hellboy to me.
I could see that. I would say the best looking Hellboy is definitely Ron Perlman's. But at the same time, they had a bunch of budget to help him, and that's the big thing, is this is a small one. But what I think, though, of what's most important about this new Hellboy movie is that it captures the feel the most of what you get. If you were to read a Hellboy comic, you could go look at that movie and be like, okay, this feels like something ripped from the comic, versus you go watch... Don't get me wrong, those Ron Perlman Hellboy movies are great, but they don't necessarily have the same kind of vibe those movies, or the same kind of vibe as the comics. And like I said, I'm not saying that's a knock against those movies or anything, because those two movies are great. I think there's a justified reason for why the Hellboy brand is kind of tarnished, because, for the mainstream, I say that because they set up a sequel in the second one where everybody loved the second one, and then they don't do a third one. And so that's them just setting themselves up for failure. And now anytime they see the mainstream audience sees anything to Hellboy, they're like, where's this new Hellboy 3? Why are we getting this cheap movie instead of a Hellboy 3 that we're still waiting on, And so that's one of the reasons why, a bunch of people weren't necessarily happy with the last two iterations we've gotten. But anyway, about the comic itself, though, the comics itself is great. You have great artwork. You have great stories that ties into these. What I was trying to say it delves into different horror aspects that normally I wouldn't delve into. But Hellboy, I think for me, was such a big reason why I maybe could have gotten into some of this horror stuff that I'm kind of a little more into now, because it's such an interesting blend of paranormal, weird, supernatural horror stuff with a really cool character in the middle of it that just doesn't give a crap about anything, and he has such a cool demeanor to his character. He's great. He's a great character. Hellboy has earned such a big name for himself for a reason. And so I just really like Hellboy. And for anybody watching, go on.
And now I would have never thought that would be your number one.
This is my number two. This is number two.
Oh, well, is it?
Yeah, we're about to go to your number one.
Okay.
No, you know what my number one is. You don't have to say it. You know what it is.
No. I know what your number one is. Yeah.
Anybody that's watching and knows me should probably know what my number one is.
Yeah, I know what your number one is.
But
that's right. I haven't done my number one. Okay, so
yeah, we're about to do your number one.
I haven't got there yet. All right,
we're almost there.
I'm
gushing about Hellboy. Before we move on to that, I just want to tell everybody, we'll get an official. I'm going to put an official announcement of this later once we actually get an official, figure out more official timing and whatnot of it. But something me and good friend Castro are working on is, you know how we do Shell Talk, of me and Chris do Shell Talk where we talk about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle stuff. Currently, me and Castro are working on a series like that called Hellboys, where we are going to be talking about a bunch of different Hellboy stuff.
Very nice.
And so I'm very excited to be being able to delve into Hellboy. And so we're going to be talking about a bunch of that different stuff. The amount of Hellboy stuff out there is insane. I don't know if you've looked at the full list of how much Hellboy stuff there is. It's crazy big now.
There's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're excited to get into this. And so stay tuned for Hellboys at some point.
Yeah.
All right. Now, your number one, good sir.
All right.
Tell us
So
about what the heck this is.
I am almost certain, and anybody watching this has probably never heard of this comic book.
And me included. When you put that as your number one, I was literally thinking, what the
This
hell is this?
This book is just freaking hilarious. It's called Knights of the Dinner Table. It was created by a guy named Jolly Blackburn. The first appearance of these guys was way back in 1990.
Okay.
I was not reading it in 1990. I did not discover it. Let me tell you how I discovered this book. I was living in Seattle, and my wife at the time knew I liked comic books, and my first wife was a thrift store junkie. She loved thrift stores. So she went to a thrift store and she discovered she came back with like a stack of these things. So like, I knew you like comic books. So I thought you might like these. And she showed them to me through, put them in. And I'm like, I've never heard of this before. I have no idea what this is. But I started reading it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, these are freaking hilarious. This is like the greatest thing in the world. So it focuses on several groups of tabletop role players of tabletop role playing games. Kind of like Dungeons and Dragons, but they play a game called Hackmaster.
Okay.
And it's very, 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 I mean, it's obviously a ripoff of Dungeons and Dragons. And there are a lot of mentions of certain things that you know that they're basically ripping off Dungeons and Dragons. But so it's written by the guy that created it. His name is Jolly Blackburn. So he writes it. He also draws it, but he is not, and he will admit he's not. He has no formal art training. He's like not a good artist. So the characters and the artwork in this book is very, very simple. And oftentimes he reuses artwork. Like if you read it a lot, you will notice, wait a minute, this is the artwork from the same. This is the same artwork from like 10 issues back when they were. So he reuses a lot of artwork. But to be fair, most of the book is written from the perspective of the dinner table, where they play their game and they're just sitting there talking to each other and playing this game. So it's not a book that you're going to enjoy because of the art.
Sure.
But the stories are, I think it would appeal to you, Spencer.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't think it's going to appeal to a lot of people if they don't RPG because they won't understand the humor.
That's very fair. Yeah. See, when you told me a little bit about it, or you said that, and I was like, "What the heck is this?" And then I looked into what it is. I was like, "Oh,
yeah,
I could enjoy this."
So
okay.
It takes place mostly at the dinner table of the group, the Knights of the Dinner Table. That's one of the gaming groups. It also takes place at a gaming store owned by a guy named Weird Pete Ashton. And the game shop is called the Games Pit. So it also takes place there. But then you also have another gaming group in the book called the Black Hands Gaming Society. So, and then there's others. Then you have the makers of Hackmaster, and it often cuts away to the creators and the people that work on the book. And it's just,
I can see that being funny.
it's just really freaking hilarious. And if you are not close to myself and my son,
Sure.
or if you are, you will often hear us quoting this back and forth.
Nice.
Like if you've ever heard us say, "Waste them with my crossbow,"
all right,
that comes from this book.
There you go. That's awesome.
And there's just these little things about the book that we often quote because it's just, yeah, like he wasn't even born when I started reading this book, so he's known about this since he could read, and
That's
it's just so freaking hilarious and so relatable if you are a gamer.
There we go.
And that is why it ended up as number one on my.
Awesome. See, I think it's cool that we both had something that like we that the other person never heard of, and so I've never heard of this one.
You're not going to find any digital copies of this online. You're going to have to go to like eBay.
Well, I found some sort of place where I could get some PDFs of this series.
Okay.
That they had official. I thought I sent it to you. I'll look at it again later, but yeah.
Yeah.
Taco Cat says his number one is Garfield.
Okay. Heck yeah.
Chris has said, so what I find interesting is there's no good list / video list of what the top 40 of these would be. It could be a great video. Search on the interwebs and not much there. Matthew says his favorite non-Marvel or DC comic is Stargate SG-1 comics.
Okay.
Where, for anybody who doesn't know, Matthew is a massive Stargate fan, as well as Chris. So, awesome.
All right. Number one is Gen 13.
Gen obviously, where I think I've only read probably one issue of that.
Oh, you're right. It's not Gen 13. It's Wildcats.
I have nothing against Wildcats, even though I haven't read much of them either. See, that's the thing that, because that's what Jim Lee worked on, right? Whatever. Right? That's cool. Yeah. The cool little property there, and I think James Gunn wants to do stuff with them as well. But anyway, no, you all might find this very surprising. Hold on to your pants, everybody. Spawn is my favorite independent non-Marvel, non-DC comic. Spawn's just my favorite. Spawn is one of my favorite comic characters, period. As I was talking about earlier in the show, there's a reason we put Batman at number one. And so Batman's obviously my number one, but Spawn, I don't think is that far behind Batman for me, and I think that kind of gives a clear indicator, good indicator of how much I really enjoy Spawn.
Statement.
I know, right? Cool. And so that just shows you, when I say Spawn's one of my favorite characters, I mean that he's one of my favorite. I know, right? Gasp! Shock! No way! Crazy, right? As if every show I don't talk about hey, here's a new Spawn comic coming out. Literally today I was talking about, hey, Spawn this week is coming out with its 364th issue, which is freaking wild. And so Specifically, what I pulled up here, a picture of the first compendium where it includes the first 50 issues. You can buy each of these compendiums for it's either 60 or 65 bucks each on Amazon, often discounted. So shout out to Image for giving you such a fantastic way to read just collections in general of like such an amazing way to be able to go into and read a rich, character that has so much stuff. They're up to, I think they have pre-orders for Compendium 7, which pretty much catches you up with almost all the new stuff, which is going to bring you up to 350 now. And we're talking, what, 60 bucks for 65 bucks for 50 issues and 7 of those. That's for 350 issues, that's a really good price. Is what I'm trying to get to with my brain failing to do math there. But no, Spawn, though, he specifically, what makes him a great character is I think when you look into his first arc, that first comic arc that Spawn has is one of those comics that I would try to lend off to people of being like, listen, Spawn is so amazing. It's such a great dark character. I think he helped pave the way for, obviously he'll pave the way for independent superheroes because of how huge Image was.
Definitely. I mean, this was probably one of without this book, I don't think Image would be where it's at.
No, absolutely not. But not only that, but I think Spawn helped pave the way for how dark superheroes are viewed as well. Like, I could be wrong, but at the time, like, you've had some Batman dabbled in some dark stories, but I don't think it necessarily dabbled into as dark as what this got. Which I think was another big part of why Spawn was big as well.
Yeah.
And so, he's such a tragic character where, I feel like probably everybody here knows just like he's grown to be such an iconic character, right? Because he's had different mediums that he's been viewed in. He has the old 90s movie, which take it or leave it, I guess. I mean, it's a cult classic to some people. So hey, if you like it,
I actually really liked it. I saw it in the theater.
Okay.
When it came out. I actually really liked it. 100% comic book accurate, no.
Sure.
But it's a decent rendition.
I could maybe go up to decent. I didn't completely hate it, but I didn't necessarily like it, though.
It's not one of my favorite movies of all time, and I definitely would not say it's even one of my favorite superhero movies of all time. But it's watchable.
League's better than Madam Web. I'll give it that. So
that's such a fucking low bar.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
That movie. Oh my God! Compared to Madam Web, that's a fucking cinematic masterpiece. Oscar-worthy material. Madam Web. I thought we weren't going to talk about that anymore.
Anyway, Spawn, though, what I would point to for a watch for Spawn stuff is the animated HBO series that was done back in the 90s, which was fantastic. Which that went on for 18 episodes, I believe. Short, but great. Go watch it. That first 6 episodes is literally like watching that first arc of the comic, but beautifully animated. And so that is what's worth watching. It's amazing.
Man, I just thought of another one that should have been on my honorable mentions, at least my honorable mentions. It's a fairly new comic book in the grand scheme of things. A lot newer than any of the ones that are on either one of our lists. And it's not put out by any of the, I was about to say labels. I'm thinking record labels, publishers that we've talked about. This one came out on Boom Studios, and it's called Grimm.
Oh, I haven't read that. Chris asked if this is streaming anywhere, the Spawn series. When HBO Max was a thing, it was there. I don't know if it's on Max. If it's anywhere, it'd be on Max.
I don't remember seeing it. On Max.
I'm going to check it here.
The last couple of times I've gotten on there.
I'm going to look right now really quick.
Okay.
We're gonna get a confirmation on if it's currently on Max or not. I see it here.
It is on. Okay.
So if you look up Spawn, it's called Todd McFarlane's Spawn, is actually what it's called.
Okay.
It has 3 seasons, where each season's only 6 episodes. Yeah, I love this show. I actually own the show. I went out of my way and bought the show on DVD because I loved it so much. And so yeah, it's a great show.
Yeah, it was a good. You're talking about the animated one, right?
Yeah, the animated one. Yeah, the animated
that was good. It was a good. Better than the movie.
That's what I would point for people to go if they want to know what Spawn's about. Go watch that.
Don't go to the movie first. Go.
Yeah.
To no.
Yeah, the show I love. I love that night. It's one of my favorite 90s cartoons. Like, it's up there for me with the other great 90s.
The live action movie's kind of cheesy.
Right. Yeah.
That's the biggest problem with it. It's cheesy, and Spawn's not really supposed to be cheesy. Yeah. I'm
trying to remember. The reason I keep on going off into this, or the reason why I went off into the side tangent of the Spawn show is because I was like, we were just talking about Spawn's such an iconic character. I feel like if I was to start here describing Spawn, it's almost like as if I was supposed to start describing Spawn or describing like who Spider-Man is when probably everybody already knows who Spider-Man is at this point, of like that sort of thing of like, oh, he dies, he comes back to life all these many years later, he sees his wife in a different position.
It's because, see, when Spawn first came out, like back in
the 90s, like 92, right?
Yeah,
like,
right? Yeah, it was. I seem to remember it was right about the time that Todd was coming off his Spider-Man run.
Yeah.
And yeah. So I remember he was coming off the run, and Spawn came out, and I saw the name on it, and I'm like, oh, holy shit, Todd McFarlane.
Yeah.
And yeah. So I read this when it first came out, but I didn't stick with it for. I maybe stuck with it for, I don't know, maybe a half a dozen issues.
I've read it for 50 issues. I own the second one, compendium, to go up through 51 through go up to 100. There's a big gap I haven't read, but I've been reading all the current stuff. I really like it. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I don't think there's anything like those classic Spawn issues,
right?
Where you're talking about where it's all written by Todd McFarlane, and I mean, he did write the series for a long time. There was a point where he passed it off to somebody else, but he wrote it for a long time. And in the beginning, he did the art there. You get beautiful art from Todd McFarlane, and it's part of what makes Todd McFarlane one of my favorite comic creators, is because of his art from Spawn, which is just amazing.
Hey, Chris, he was probably the best part about the movie, if we're being honest.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah, talk about Spawn as part of the, what do you call it? Bad adaptation 90s genre. Yeah, Mario, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, Spawn.
It wasn't horrible. It just wasn't great. It just there's
welcome
better stuff out there.
Welcome in, Kilo, near the end of the show. Good to see you come back. Anyway, you are here. Anyway,
before we end things, I actually wanted to point something out. Okay. Do you ever? It might be on your newsfeed. I don't know, newsfeed. But do you read comic book resources like CBR.com?
I don't often go there.
Okay. I go there every once in a while because they put out lists. They often put out lists.
Sure.
And I thought I'd mention, as ranked by CBR, the top 5 independent comics of all time.
What do we not talk about? I mean, I know there's a couple big ones that we didn't talk about that I think are worth to mention, though. Maybe they're on here.
Here's the thing: out of the top 5, Neither one of us picked one of these.
Sure.
But,
Okay.
But of the top 10, we each picked one in the top 10.
All right. Here, send me the link, and we can go through this list really quick. I'm curious now.
Very quickly. Number 5, East of West.
I feel like I've heard of that. Okay.
I've read the first volume. It was fine. It's one of those where maybe I'll read the rest later. It's not a priority.
You said East of West is what it's
called. East of West. It's Jonathan Hickman.
That's where I've seen this. Okay. Yeah.
Iconic writer. It's fine. It's not bad. I like it.
I have it on my Amazon wish list already.
It's not a
funny
priority
enough.
for me to keep trying to read it.
Very fair.
Number 4, Bone.
Okay, I haven't read Bone. I need to read Bone. That's one. I remember Bone being a huge thing when I was in elementary school. Talk about like one of the few comics I was actually in their like graphic novel section that people would love to read.
It's on my list. It's on my list.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'd give it another read sometime.
Yeah. Okay. Number 3, Invincible.
See, okay, that was one that I was like, that's what I've read of it is really good.
Yeah.
And that for me is an honorable mention, absolutely.
Yes. Okay. So I've read it. It's good. Okay. Number 2, Saga.
See, I haven't read that. That was on your...
I've read the original run.
Sure. Yeah, I need to read that. Good. That was on your list of candidates, though, to be fair.
Was. It just didn't make the 5 cut. It is really good.
Yeah.
It's by Brian K. Vaughan, who I know that name from somewhere, but because he's done Marvel, he's done DC, but what has he done? I can't remember.
Said Brian K. Vaughan.
Yeah, he's done a lot of stuff, and well, he did Y the Last Man, which is, but other than
he
that,
worked on some X-Men stuff.
He did what? Yeah, he did some X-Men, but I don't remember any of it.
It's very specific issues I can say here. I don't know if it'd mean anything to you.
Oh, so pretty famous writer for the most part. And it's a really good. I haven't read any of the new run.
Okay.
Now, number 1, you are never going to guess this.
Never
going to guess this. The number 1, as ranked by CBR.com, and I don't know where they get their rankings from.
It's usually just for clickbait to be like, hey, that's not what number 1 should be.
Right. Number 1 is Mouse.
MAUS?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I remember that being an option for something I could have read in school for a project or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't read it, but I know what that is.
It is. So here's the thing. I've never read it.
Okay.
I've never had it on my list. Not for any reason. I just I don't know. Never thought about it. But it went down in history as becoming the first graphic novel to win a Pulitzer Prize.
Right. Yes.
And it's World War II themed. I don't think it actually takes place in World War II. It's all like,
yeah, I'm not sure what it is. It's very much
like flashbacks.
Yeah, it's a big story because it depicts Holocaust in its own form, and so that's why it's a big thing there.
But yeah, that is the number 1 indie comic book of all time.
That's crazy.
So,
here's my big thing that I kind of pride myself with being from where I live here. We talked about Invincible. That's written by Robert Kirkman, but the bigger thing people know that name attached to is Walking Dead, which is almost what I said as my guess. But I was like, well, probably with you hyping up that, I wouldn't guess that. It's probably not that then. Yeah. But anyway, point is that Walking Dead is an absolutely huge series as well.
Yeah, Walking Dead was number 10.
Yeah, I've read some of those original issues. They're great original issues. Not necessarily my
Yeah, it's a great book.
kind of thing, just because I'm not huge into that zombie thing, but I can admit though, like that they're great. Like those original issues are great though, despite me not being a big zombie person.
Yeah.
Anyway, what I was going to say though is Robert Kirkman. He actually came from a neighboring town, like literally.
Oh, okay.
And so there's like a big sign when you go through there, you know, the dead don't walk here or whatever. And so, or whatever the sign says. But anyway,
So-
yeah, he literally grew up like right beside, which is cool.
Robert Kirkman also wrote oh my gosh, I just read it. What the hell's the name of it?
Firepower.
Firepower,
There we go.
which is I've read the first 2 volumes.
Okay.
I know I've read at least the first one. Did I read I know I meant to read the second one. Did I actually end up reading it? I'm pretty sure I ended up reading it.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I did read volume 2. Very good book.
Excellent. Yeah, no, I need to read more of his stuff. He's currently working on the Energon universe. I know he's writing Void Rivals and managing Skybound, and he's working a lot on the Invincible show right now. And so he's a busy guy. So
yeah, definitely.
So yeah, shout out to Robert Kirkman. So that's cool. Yeah, he's gone all to Hollywood. He hasn't done anything here for many, many years. So
Yeah,
he's made it to Hollywood, and I was watching an interview with him with Rob Liefeld and Kevin Smith that happened a couple months ago, or a few months ago, when they were joking about him being the richest man in comic books because apparently he's really smart with all his investments and whatnot. So anyway, point beside, yeah, he's a huge creator. Definitely lots of great stuff from him. So awesome.
Yeah.
Anyway, never a lack of comics in general. As always, never a lack of stuff to talk about. As the world of comics is very, we don't have anything. We'll figure that out. So, as soon as we know, and
very unlike us.
I know. To be fair, I didn't spend much time thinking ahead just because I was really busy and I've been doing other stuff. But we'll figure out something.
To be honest, I'm still trying to get used to this new schedule.
Yeah, that's very fair. See, we've each have personal life stuff that's been going on.
Yeah.
So we'll figure out something. We'll talk about it off here and figure something out. Hopefully within the next couple of days, so I can go ahead and make something to start promoting a little bit. You know. So
sure. Yeah.
But we'll figure out something. There's never a lack of stuff. I feel like I might have had some ideas, but nothing's set in stone of like that's what I want to do. So or what we wanted to do. So we'll figure something out.
Sure.
But
we'll figure something out.
Until then, see you all later for the next Comic Den. Go check out Rebel Nerd Radio, where you all are talking about Andor. There you go.
We're still talking about Andor.
Yep. Yeah, talking about the last few episodes, and yeah. So, and then be sure to go check out, if you're not already subscribed here, be sure to subscribe here, hit that like button and all that stuff. And be sure to go follow me on Twitch. If you're not already following on Twitch, the link to that is down in my link tree down below, where I'm probably going to be going live on Twitch here. I'm not going to say right after this, but probably fairly soon, I'll probably be live to talk about, I'm not talking about, to game some more Doom, because Doom the Dark Ages drops tomorrow for any premium edition users that buy it. And so I'm going to be finishing up the last Doom, as I just have a little bit. So
I think I might go watch that Hellboy.
Go watch it. It's good. I want to know your thoughts on it. Yeah. Matthew's saying, think you might go listen to some music. Heck yeah. Yeah, I'm going to be chilling and dooming it out and probably dying a lot. So yeah, go check out Rebel Nerd Radio. And see you all next week for the Comic Den, where you will find out. We'll figure it out. Something. All right. Until then, see you all later.